Take a date with recession. Is there a looming global recession right around the corner? Will 2022 be a year of economic slowdown and layoffs? How can you prepare yourself for a possible global recession? Stay tuned to get the best answers. Welcome to the World Econ News. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and hit the notification button to get updates and information about the latest international economic news items. Now, before answering the big questions about a possible global recession in the year 2022, allow me to define it for you in simple, logical terms. What is an economic recession? A recession is an economic slowdown that is usually a result of a combination of various economic realities that accumulate over time or due to sudden, massive shocks. Recessions are actually more common than most people think. They represent a natural phenomenon that occurs due to the nature of capitalism. In simple words, think of recessions as the process in which the economy corrects itself. However, this process requires human input. Such input can be harsh and cause serious hardships for the poor and a segment of the middle class in particular. Why do the poor and middle class have to suffer while the rich and super-rich don't suffer during recessions? Well, there are various factors, such as the number of non-debt assets owned by the rich in general. Most of the poor and middle class lack substantial savings. And last but not least is the usual government's absolute and total refusal to increase revenues by imposing higher taxes on the super-rich, cracking down on tax havens and tax loopholes. I know, it's not fair, but still, it's simply the current reality of the global financial system. On the bright side, things can and do change. Guess what? You can actually spot an incoming recession without having to wait for politicians or economists to inform you that it's nearing, because there are factors that play a role in it, and you can spot them from a mile away. Here is how you can do it for yourself. See, the most common and obvious combination of economic realities or factors which usually are a strong signal that a recession might be lurking in the voids of the near future are: Number 1, which is the most obvious one, 2 or more consecutive quarters of negative economic growth. Number 2, a rally of economic shocks such as the price of oil skyrocketing or hitting and staying around the low price of $10 per barrel. Regular panic rallies in the financial markets. Constant confusing signals of contradictory economic expectations and speculations by the experts and governments. Number 3, you'll like this one, the animal spirit, which is a form of overexcited investors and corporations feeling a little too happy and excited about something while abandoning the art of risk assessment. This usually leads to a bubble burst, like the dot-com fiasco in the 1990s. Number 4, persistent high inflation due to the combination of excessive money printing, consumer overspending, increased government debt, and imbalance in the supply chain. So you're probably wondering, what does a recession basically lead to? Look, in a nutshell, it leads to businesses and corporations of all sizes experiencing very low revenues due to a serious decline in demand and increased uncertainty about the future. Hence, more unemployment, layoffs, and economic slowdown. But relax and don't go panicky on me now. Always keep in mind that economics and the global financial system issues can only be handled in a delicate, well-studied manner. So why should you not panic? Because we, the human race, are getting smarter. Maybe not fast enough in general. Nevertheless, according to the Cookie Monster, the number of smart cookies in the realm of finance, economic management, international relations, and politics is increasing. Hence, according to researchers and analysts, there are currently more innovative and intelligent ways to mitigate the damages caused by recessions than ever. Okay, let's move on and talk about some important stuff. Did COVID-19 cause all the recession-causing combination of factors to become a reality over the past 2 years? The answer is a hard and obvious yes, it did. So does that mean we're heading to a recession in 2022? No, it doesn't mean anything, because the measures which can be implemented by governments around the world, especially rich nations and big economics in combination with planned well-coordinated international cooperation and collaboration, can lead the global economy to correct itself while causing minimum damage. So, that being said, it's safe to assume that the USA, China, and the EU's heavyweights are responsible for what happens next, or, to be more accurate, when will the recession hit the world, and how bad will it be? According to economists and analysts, there are two countries on this planet that can cause the whole world to make it or break it when it comes to economic growth and potential recessions. Of course, they are China and the USA. So let's take a look at what's happening in these two countries that can lead to a global recession. Let's chat about the USA first. The US inflation is now at a 31-year high and proving to be much less transitory than the Federal Reserve had hoped. So if the US did not maneuver correctly in its soon-to-be implemented plans for a gradual slamming on the monetary policy brakes to keep inflation under control, the global economic recovery will suffer and the risk of a harsh recession in late 2022 or early 2023 will substantially increase. The danger of the US Federal Reserve increasing the interest rates to the world economy is that it will cause many asset and credit price bubbles around the world to burst. Why? Because banks have been on a bond-buying spree in the past 2 years. Banks have been buying the bonds based on the presumption that the current low interest rates will stick around for many years to come, or even forever. Sadly, the longer the US Federal Reserve waits, the more work they will need to do later. There is something dangerous going on in the USA that could lead to a global recession that could hit the whole world hard except the USA. Now, just bear with me here. The USA economy is doing great. All sectors are performing excellently. Unemployment is extremely low. There is plenty of cash in the system. Poverty levels are at a minimum. Construction is booming. The government has just dumped $1.2 trillion on the infrastructure and so much more. So what's the problem? Well, this reality in the US economy and the fact that the Democrats might not be in power in 2025 could lead the USA administration to play the everyone for himself card. Yes, it can simply bank on its strong economy and slam super hard on the monetary policy brakes, causing its economy to rattle slightly and dive into a mild recession that will only sound bad and terrible in the US mainstream media. However, on the global scale, such an action will cause most nations on Earth to experience a deep, harsh recession that could last for a few years. Let's keep our fingers crossed and hope the USA doesn't do that. One factor that could lead the USA to act hastily is the level of knowledge and awareness its leadership possesses about the reality that most nations on Earth became much poorer due to COVID-19 and couldn't cope with its terrible economic effects. And unlike it and its endless access to wealth, they simply couldn't come up with the needed cash to help their citizens. Thus, the nearing decision by the US Fed can actually cause tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of the world's poorest to become even poorer and experience an unprecedented level of hunger and health problems, which can lead to serious civil unrest, wars, unnecessary deaths, and more heart-aching misery. Such a crisis will represent a serious blow to all recent international efforts to improve the social, economic, and health status of the world as a collective, and a serious setback to globalization. Indeed, the USA and its mighty petrodollar are just that, mighty. Now let's move on to the next giant, China, the world's second-largest economy. China is a major risk to the global economy and the possibility that it could dive into a recession. The risk is present in the danger that China is currently facing a serious economic slowdown. One of the driving factors behind this slowdown is the bursting of the Chinese housing and credit market bubble, which was highlighted by the recent demise of EVERGRANDE, the massive and highly indebted Chinese property development company. The bursting of that property giant bubble is bound to lead to a burst in the Chinese credit market bubble. EVERGRANDE is just one in a large series of Chinese corporations to go in the red or totally burst in the past 2 years. According to experts, this could lead China into a crisis worse than the housing bubble burst in the USA and Europe in 2008-2009 that led to a catastrophic global recession. Some analysts might argue that the Chinese economy does not have strong direct financial links to the world's financial system. However, experts on the matter collectively agree that a marked slowing in the Chinese economic growth would have major negative effects on the global economy. A crisis in China would mean that Germany, Australia, and China's Asian economic partners will no longer be able to count on a rapidly expanding Chinese economy for their exports. In addition to that, the commodity-producing countries in Latin America and Africa will no longer be able to count on buoyant international commodity markets to support their economies, because China will no longer buy some of the commodities on a scale comparable to the current massive scale in which it buys some countries' entire commodity supplies. So let's move on to you. Yes, you. Let me ask you a question. Are you ready for a recession if it hits? Well, regardless of your answer, allow me to give the experts' answer on how to prepare and survive a recession. Number 1. Avoid increasing and reduce your exposure to financial risks. For example, avoid co-signing loans. Don't take out an adjustable rate mortgage. And please quit borrowing. Number 2. If you're an employee, do everything you can to safeguard your job, such as overperforming and upgrading your skills. Number 3. If you're a business owner, spend and expand wisely with available funds. Don't borrow until the economic recovery begins. And number 4. Keep those savings for a rainy day safe and secure, and add to them, and do not overspend. Recessions are not part of the problem nor the solution, but rather are part of the landscape, aka reality. So accept it and be positive. It's safe to assume that a recession will hit sooner or later. The world is more interconnected, aware of the recession-causing factors, and smarter than ever. Hence, it's safe to assume that it will be a mild recession. Always be prepared and, most importantly, stay positive. After all, being negative won't make you any smarter or richer. So that's it for this video. Farewell, be cool, stay freaking positive, and if you'd like to stay updated and informed about the latest international economic news topics, hit the subscribe and bell icons. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.